and then the chairperson of the committee will liaise with the office of the speaker, and we see if there are other pending issues, then we will be guiding forward. But, Honourable Minister, in regard to issues of public service and discrepancies in salaries, legal officers in police, you know, you have taken them back to ordinary salaries. They were supposed to be paid as judicial officers. You had started it, all of a sudden you took them back from 5.4 to 1 point something. They are complaining seriously. Honourable Minister, pilots of police are not being paid as scientists. I hope that you've sorted it out. Yes, but legal officers in police, Honourable Minister, please take it up. I've received very many messages from them. I kindly request you to follow up on that issue. And you reconcile. Yeah. Next item.
Item number 4, motion for resolution of Parliament to pay tribute to the late Dr. Paul Kawanga Ssemogerere for his eminent and dedicated service to the Republic of Uganda.
Right Honourable Prime Minister. Our colleagues, this is a colleague, this is a senior leader, senior elder in our country who served us diligently, whose debate should add to the national ethos. A debate that can enrich our nation, not a debate that should divide us, but rather a debate which should bring us all together. And I hope we shall take that route.
Honourable Speaker. The demise of Dr. Kawanga Ssemogerere, which occurred on Friday, 18th November 2022. Aware that Dr. Kawanga Ssemogerere had a distinguished career serving in various capacities on the African continent, in the government of Uganda, and as a political leader of the Democratic Party. Recognizing that Dr. Kawanga Ssemogerere has served the government of Uganda in several key responsibilities. Recognizing that Dr. Kawanga Ssemogerere was a firm advocate and a promoter of democracy in the Democratic Party. Cognizant that Dr. Kawanga Ssemogerere successfully led Democratic Party as president for 25 years and was one of those who contributed to constitutionalism in Uganda. Appreciating that Dr. Kawanga Ssemogerere was a particularly dedicated and significant and dignified leader who immeasurably participated and contributed to in shaping the pre and post independence, democratic governance, and political leadership of Uganda. Now, therefore, be it resolved that 1. Parliament collectively conveys its deep condolences to the bereaved family, relatives, friends, the Democratic Party, and the people of Uganda for the loss of a distinguished and noble citizen. Number 2, that Parliament takes cognizance of the service that Dr. Paul Kawanga Ssemogerere has rendered to the Democratic Party and the people of Uganda. Honourable Speaker and colleagues, I beg to move.
Thank you. Right Honourable Prime Minister. Is the motion seconded? Rope, Honourable Wooda, Government Chief Whip, Attorney General,
by the
Oh.
whole house.
The whole house. Thank you. Would you like to speak to your motion, Right Honourable Prime Minister?
Yes. Justification, Right Honourable Speaker, that on Friday, 18th November 2022, we received sad news of the death of Honorable Dr. Paulo Kawanga Semogerere, an accomplished politician and leader. Right Honourable Speaker and colleagues, Honourable Dr. Paulo Kawanga Semogerere was born on February 11th, 1932 at the Bumangi Catholic Mission in Sese Islands, present-day Kalangala district, to the late Joseph Bagenda Kapere, a fisherman, and the late Maria Ruiza Namwendero, a homemaker. He completed his primary education at completed the Cambridge intermediate examination and was admitted to Makerere University, where he joined the local students' union. In 1954, Right Honourable Speaker, he was elected vice president of the Students' Guild. In 1955, he was selected as an exchange student, where he attended Regents College in USA before returning to Uganda to graduate as a biology and chemistry teacher in 1957. In his brief teaching service, he carried out teaching practice at Namiriango College, where two of his best students were Mr. Aloysius Njala, later a director of Bank of Uganda, and Justice Francis Sekandi. He later moved to St. Leo's Chegove in Fort Portal. The Honourable Speaker, in 1990, he was awarded a honorary doctorate in humanities and letters by Alma Mater Regents College, Mediville, USA. In 1961, Paulo Semogerere ran as the DP candidate in Mengo North, part of Mulemezi County, where he was elected. He traveled with Beni Chiwanuka across the country and internationally. Paulo Semogerere became DP Publicity Secretary in 1962 to 1969, when political parties were banned, and together with Beni Chiwanuka, they were arrested and detained without trial under the Public Order and Security Act of 1967. In 1972, he replaced Beni Chiwanuka as the leader of the Democratic Party, having served him as a parliamentary secretary. After a reported stage car accident in 1972, Paulo Semogerere escaped as a serviceman aboard a railway freight car, disguised by a friend and later editor of the Citizen, Mr. Chieyune, He crossed into Kenya and was admitted as a refugee in Baltimore in 1972. Honorable Speaker and colleagues, this reminds us of the political journey Uganda has gone through since independence up to when the NRM government took power. In 1973, he joined Maxwell School of Citizen and Public Affairs as Sanctuaries. In May 1974, he married Jeremina Namatov, and together they have children. In 1980, he assumed the leadership of Democratic Party and contested for president, and he became leader of opposition in Parliament from 1981 to 1985. From 1986 to 1995, Dr. Semogerere was appointed and served as Minister for Internal Affairs, Second Deputy Prime Minister, and Minister for Foreign Affairs and Regional Affairs, and later Second Deputy Service under the NRM government. During all this time, he remained the President General of the Democratic Party. Mark that one, the way Mao is. In June 1995, he officially resigned his cabinet position to contest in the 1996 presidential elections, which he lost to the NRM candidate Yoweri Kaguta Museveni. 2005, he retired as Democratic Party president, a position he held for 25 years to private business. Right Honorable Speaker and colleagues, on 26 September 2016, Dr. Paulo Kawanga Semogerere was awarded a Golden Jubilee Medal number 1037 by President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni at Kampala Serena Conference Center. Right Honorable Speaker and colleagues, His Excellency the President granted the late Dr. Paulo Kawanga Semogerere an official burial. We wish to extend our sincere sympathies and condolence to the bereaved family, friends, and the Democratic Party that he held for 25 years, and the people of North Mengo whom he represented in the Legislative Assembly. Right Honorable Speaker and colleagues, may the Almighty God grant his soul eternal rest. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Right Honorable Prime Minister. Leader of Opposition. As a seconder. I'm told he is a former Secretary General. They elected him, but I don't know whether he assumed office at any time of the Democratic Party. It's free sitting, honorable colleagues, so you can stand any side.
That's how they come.
Mr. Speaker, it is so delighting to see the Honorable General Mohoz saying I should be here to supervise him. And I know that those days are coming. And by the grace of God, I promise him that I will be his very good supervisor. Speaker and colleagues, I want to very warmly thank...
Honorable, 5 minutes.
No, that cannot be true.
I have total of 30 minutes, okay? If you read the order paper. So I'm the one who gives
Mr.
time.
Speaker, the most bereaved now should be heard. Other times, my prayer for time is stronger this time. I pray that God will grant you the patience to accord me as you have always done. Permit me, Right Honourable Speaker, to thank the Prime Minister and my very own Right Honourable Robin Anabanja for moving this motion that I rise to support with my heart and soul. Before I commence, let me also say thank you to government. The government here on your right for granting Dr. Semo Ogerere the kind of burial that he so deserved. And I now rise to second the motion brought by the Prime Minister, although with a small amendment at the end. Among the prayers, it has become common, and I pray it continues, that when we lose such a dignified person who has served not only with commitment but distinction, we name something in memory of such people. And I would pray that the powers that be find pleasure in naming a road, and a prime road, after Dr. Semo Ogerere for the diligent service. A number of things have been said about Dr. Semo Ogerere that I do not want to repeat and are factual, but I will make some few factual corrections. It is true that Dr. Semo Ogerere, now late, departed on 18th November 2022, and the nation has since been united in profound grief for a singular life which more than sums up the mind of many for the kind of Uganda they aspire. Right Honourable Speaker and colleagues, any attempt to appraise the life of Dr. Semo Ogerere is odious, an exercise and a tall order at the same time. I will only attempt all the same in the hope that I will do justice to his larger-than-life profile. I knew Dr. Semo Ogerere from childhood as a close friend to my late father, and as our representative both in Parliament and Constituent Assembly representing the people of Busiro South constituency where I'm born. From the humble beginnings, he was the last of the 8 children born to Joseph Bagenda Kapere, a fisherman as mentioned by the Prime Minister, and Maria Luisa Namwendero on 11th February 1932 at Bumanji Catholic Mission in Sese Islands, in the present-day Kalangala district. He came early to grief when he lost his father in 1933, and that is 1 year later, and grew up under the charge of the Catholic White Sisters in Chisubi, where his mother worked as a domestic cook to support the young family. He would later attend St. Mary's College Chitovu, Chisubi, Makerere University, Allegan College in Medieval, Pennsylvania, and obtained a doctorate in public administration, in addition to the honorary doctorate mentioned by the Prime Minister. Honorable Speaker, Right Honorable Speaker and colleagues, Mahatma Gandhi remarkably stated that the best way to find yourself is to lose yourself in the service of others. I can't agree more than that. That the life and career of Dr. Semo Ogerere resonates accurately with Gandhi's timeless discourse. In 1958, at the age of 27, he resigned from his comfortable teaching job to join and work with the late Right Honourable Ben Kiwanuka here at Parliament. In 1961 to 62, he was elected member of the LegCo, where he represented the country with diligence, and later represented or was a member of Parliament for North Mengo, as mentioned by the Prime Minister. It is also true that in 1969, together with the late Ben Chiwanukado, was detained under the Public Order and Safety Act, passed by the regime in power then in 1967. He has witnessed and personally taken the brunt of the state's repression of political opposition and its reliance on security responses to political matters. I personally witnessed how he was brutalized with tear gas and bullets while attending graduation parties of two young Democrats he had helped educate at Nkozi and Kamuli. I was in attendance. In addition to the brutality he suffered at the Constitutional Square, again in my presence, during the quest for the restoration of multi-party democracy in Uganda. Dr. Ssemwogerere was again thrust into the deep affairs after the NCC voted Professor Lule out of office on June 20th, 1979. All of you are still having memories, if you were born then, of the famous No Lule No Work and what followed at the current Constitutional Square. He continued to be DP for as long as political parties were allowed to operate. And I wish to make a correction. It is not true that while he served under the NRM government, he was president of the Democratic Party, because political parties had been suspended until the promulgation of the 1995 Constitution under Article 269, that he fought with vigor until it was amended or repealed. The late Dr. Ssemwogerere would go to lead the opposition in Parliament under those very difficult circumstances, and where he served both as leader of the opposition and Minister for Defense, Shadow Minister for Defense. When the government took power, the government in power in the 1980s was being fought on several fronts by many others, among others. The Renzururu Movement, the Uganda Freedom Movement, UFM, the Uganda National Rescue Front, the former National Resistance, the former Uganda National Army, FUMA, and then the NRA. Dr. Ssemwogerere resorted to serving as leader of the opposition and used that office to rescue countless lives from the infamous Pandagari. It will also be recalled that at some point in 1982, Dr. Ssemwogerere announced that he had opened up a black book in which he was compiling and cataloging the excesses of the regime in power then. The innovation was a deterrent and helped to keep the regime in check, even when some people ridiculed that endeavor. To him, it was an approach that would guarantee peace and stability. In 1994 to 95, and this has been omitted, process and contributed greatly to the making and development of constitutionalism, although he refused to sign the constitution on account of the ban on political parties under the then Article 269 that he fought vigorously. Dr. Ssemwogerere, who had served as cabinet minister under the presidency of General Tito Okello Lutwa and General Yoweri Museveni, resigned on 13th June 1995 and emerged as the joint opposition candidate under the IPFC, the Interpolitical Forces Corporation, deputized by our very own Mama Cecilia Tim Ogwal Barbara. And he pushed for the agenda of returning to multi-party democracy. And I wish to emphasize, he was uniting with the people he had accused of rigging his election. and therefore working to bring Uganda together again. The Democrat in him pushed for the agenda of returning multi-party democracy in the country. He sought amendment of the Constitution to repeal Article 269 and to demilitarize politics by scrapping army representation in Parliament and emphasize the implementation of the Minimum Economic Recovery Program. He pursued litigation, numerous constitutional petitions as an alternative to violence. Right Honorable Speaker, the late was a vanguard of democracy and rule of law, even in circumstances of extreme disagreement and adversity. When President Yusuf Lulay was removed from office by a vote of the National Consultative Council, Dr. Semogerere brought the first of what would be the landmark constitutional petition challenging the removal from office. Justices of the Constitutional Court agreed with him, although holding that the matter had been overtaken by events. Little wonder, Right Honorable Speaker, that in the run-up to 2000 referendum of political systems, when the Parliament passed the Referendum and Other Provisions Act without quorum in contravention of the Constitution, Dr. Semogerere, together with his two deputies, the Honorable Zachary Olum and Honorable Reina Kafire, brought a constitutional petition seeking to nullify the act and succeeded. In all, he would later bring 5 landmark constitutional cases which set the stage for the return to multi-party politics and enhancement of our jurisprudence. Right Honorable Speaker, his death culminates into 90 years of a solid character of steadfast loyalty to the country, high level of integrity, a stellar record of service to the public, and deep sense of nationalism. A twin unshakable faith in God and the Church, as well as unquestionable commitment to the motherland. Dr. Semogerere's commitment to his country was critically underpinned by the understanding that beyond all manner of thought and idea, Uganda is bigger than any one individual or any one institution. To this, he tirelessly applied all his endeavors. I'll recall with fondness that in 1993, he chaired the Committee for the Coronation of His Majesty Ronald Mwenda Mutebi II, for which he was awarded a medal by His Majesty the Kabaka. To this end, I express deepest condolences to His Majesty the King on behalf of myself, my family, the people of Busiro that he diligently represented in Parliament, and on behalf of the entire opposition in Parliament, and on behalf of the National Unity Platform, the NUP, to Ssaabasajja Kabaka kutusinze aibene. Right Honorable Speaker, I had occasion, as did some of the colleagues, to share in the disappointment of the many we extol in the evening of his life. The man, as such, I can attest to his sadness at the time of his death on the state of affairs he lives in his country. He was particularly saddened at the increasing number of abductions and political intolerance in the country by state operatives. The growing authoritarianism and the country's weak institutions, the assault on constitutionalism and rule of law, the uncertainty arising out of the debate on political succession, economic stagnation, and the youth bulge yet without assurance of a stable future, so immensely troubled him and did as many issues. This is a far cry from the Uganda he tirelessly worked for and applied himself to all his life, his adult life. Right Honorable Speaker, if any in his memory and honor, this is a renewed call for deliberate sacrifice on our part to deliver reforms to the electoral landscape and to validate the legitimacy of the aspirations of our people, to decide how they are led, to deliver equitable opportunity and services across the nation. Right Honorable Speaker, it is well within my belief, as it should be, for all and sundry, that condolences are in order to the widow, my sister, Professor Dr. Jamina Namatovu Semogerere, Paul Semakula Carol Semogerere, Anna Namakula, Immaculate Chibuka, and all other children, the many that he has mentored through various forms of mentorship and education, including those that have abandoned him for greener pastures in their political diaspora in the current government. I therefore, without reservation, second this motion with amendment that the powers find it within their minds to name a befitting prime road in his memory and appreciation. I beg to submit for God and my country. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Leader of Opposition. I thought you would thank me for giving you the time, as requested.
It is so deserving, and I do without reservation. Thank you, sir.
So, colleagues, yes, Dean of Independence. So if Dean of Independence is not here, I will, no, I don't have any prior information referred to my office appointing any of the independents to replace Mr. Zujan, Honorable Zujan Livingston. Let me start with Mama Cecilia Ogwal. Now, colleagues, because we have other business to do, we are displaying pictures of the late Honorable Dr. Paul Kawanga Semogere for visitors and other people to see. I think I will give Mama Cecilia Ogwal 3 minutes, the rest we shall use 2 minutes. Okay? And I'll pick around 6 members. Yeah.
Right Honorable Speaker, I welcome you back from the long absence, and I also want to thank you for giving me an opportunity to pay tribute to my fallen brother and friend. Right Honorable Speaker, it is true that talking about Paul Semogere in 2, 3, or 4 minutes is very difficult. But I would want to summarize the life of Paul Semogere in just three words, I would say. First, the moment I got to know Paul Semogere through Honorable Sam Kutesa and Kafume Mukasa, I knew him as a Democratic Party member. I knew him as a Catholic Christian, and I knew him as a Democrat and an activist in the restoration of the country at any stage in our political journey. Right Honorable Speaker, Paul Semogere started his journey from the deep end of the pool of politics. He started in the 60s when Buganda was divided as far as political opinion was concerned. The Baganda thought that the only way that we would drive Uganda as a united country was by having an indirect election in both the 1960, 61, and 62 elections. But the Paul Semogere, who were known to be the nationalist forces, resisted. And as a result, for those of us who want to know about the history, and that's what made me very excited about keeping close to Paul Semogere to learn more. Paul Semogere decided to mobilize Democratic Party to defy the mood in Buganda. And in 1960, although the Buganda as such were not properly represented because they did not register, but the Democratic Party swept Buganda. And indeed, Right Honorable Speaker, for those of us who want to learn, and I always prefer to learn from my past mistakes or strengths, the Democratic Party gave away, free, the platform that they had shaped. And now, later on, the Uganda People's Congress, being united with the KY, swept the entire ground. The same thing happened when NUP swept Buganda in the last year's election. I made a statement. I said that spirit of KY has re-emerged in Buganda. And I don't think I was wrong. And Buganda has always wanted something that it can identify itself with the tradition. Saw it in the 60s through KY. They have seen it again through NUP. And therefore, like it or love it, that is it. The way I have known it. Right Honorable Speaker, I led a walkout of 47 members in the Constituent Assembly to reaffirm that statement that don't joke with Buganda when it comes to federal. I am a Lango from the village of Dokolo. I led that walkout of 47 members. There were 66 members of Buganda in the Constituent Assembly, but we only got 28 Baganda to join us in the walkout. So if there is any complaint, let the Baganda complain about itself first before you blame the others. Right, Honorable Speaker, to say, how do I remember Paul Semogere? Two things. The president having been in power for 15 years, when we went for the 1996 election, 15 years, we were given 39 days to campaign to usher in a government. In 39 days, we were able to get 27% of the popular votes. So if we were to go by Paul Semogere's dream of the proportional representation, the opposition would have been 27% represented in the 6th Parliament. But we were not that represented, so we lost out. So Right Honorable Speaker, let nobody underrate the value that Paul Semogere had in the politics of Uganda. And I'm surprised that this government would wake up at the last minute and give Paul Semogere that glorious send-out, instead of giving him the glorious life before his departure. They gave him glorious send-out, which to me it hurts me. There are so many Semogere still with us. Please look for them now. Don't wait to give them glorious. And Right Honorable Speaker, remember Paul Semogere as a reconciler. It's a problem. Remember, as the mover and the seconder have said, that Paul Semogere was arrested in 1969, September, for those of you who read history, and he was rescued by Idi Amin. But Paul Semogere was willing to work with us. He did not remember the arrest of the past. And that is very important. Members, let us not shape our history by what happened yesterday. Let's look at today and let's walk forward depending on what we want Uganda to be. May God rest his soul in peace.
Thank you, Honorable Baba.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker and honorable colleagues. The late Semogere, Dr. Semogere, was Minister of Foreign Affairs for over a decade, where I was also an officer in the ministry. In paying tribute to him, I want to thank him for the work he did as the Foreign Minister of Uganda. I want to pay tribute to him for the protection he gave to Foreign Service officers in the ministry. As a Foreign Service officer, it's a very competitive job. It is one of the top civil service jobs in this country. And when you join it, you hope to rise up to the ambassadorial level. From grade 6 to grade 1, ambassadorial level. That is the wish and hope and aspiration of every foreign services who joins. And Dr. Semogera, as foreign minister, protected this. So officers like me rose to become ambassadors and head missions, fly the Uganda flag to represent the country. Now these aspirations of foreign service officers are almost dashed. Mr. Speaker, sir, I want to plead to my government, I want to plead to my president, that when these young men join the Foreign Service Office, they aspire to be ambassadors, to reach the top of their levels, like the army do. You join the army and you rise to become a general. Like the doctors do, you rise to become a senior consultant. Like the police, you become an inspector reduced to working in headquarters or working as second field.
Conclude, Honorable.
Lastly, the late Semogera did not believe in winner takes all. He was a consensus builder. He was very consultative. And this is the spirit we need in this country. Consultative, consensus building, and working together. I think this is one of the biggest legacies he has left for us in this country. I thank you for giving me this opportunity, but please let the government listen and give these young men to rise to their positions and head missions. At the moment, there's only one ambassador, a career diplomat in Saudi Arabia. The rest are all political appointees. The president has the prerogative to appoint, but I appeal to my president, give these young men at least a quarter or even a minute. They can be satisfied in the career. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Honorable Rumu. Colleagues, there is a balance I'm trying to get here. We have around 3 DP members around here. We're having some elders who worked with the red. Also having the young. So I'm trying to balance. Be patient.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
And for those who abandoned DP, be seated for now.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. It is
order.
I'm very proud, Mr. Speaker, that today I'm talking about a person in the names of Dr. Paul Kawanga Semogere, who actually mentored most of the leaders you are seeing here. Mr. Speaker, when we joined the Democratic Party, of the Democratic Party, he always trained us. One thing I remember about Dr. Semogere, he was devoid of corruption. He was a very, very incorruptible person. You could not actually corrupt him. Secondly, he was a down-to-earth man, very humble man. You would not even think that he was once a prime minister of this country. Mr. Speaker, one time he said that if there is anything to die for, you die fighting for your country. I think whatever he did in his capacity, he died fighting for the rights of the people. Him. Secondly, I was 96 elections. I was with Mama Cecilia and Dr. Kawanga Semogere in Otuke. I was there. But he could not remember, she could not remember, but I reminded her. I was the one pushing the car of Dr. Semogere to actually. I moved with him, and one thing I learned from him, if you want to do something, get determined to do it, and you'll always achieve. As I pushed the car, I'm right in this house as a member of parliament because of his training. Lastly, Mr. Speaker, he died thinking of federalism. I had Mama Cecilia talking about it. He was one of the 47 people who actually walked out from the constituency assembly. One of the things he died thinking about is how this country one day will attain a federal status. And he gave even an example of the German model. He loved it, and he thought that this is the only way this country. Mr. Speaker, if it could be necessary, probably one day that topic will be brought to this parliament for us to discuss it and probably give Semogerere the best he could achieve for this country, a federal system of governance for this country. I thank you, Mr.
Honorable Chinyamatama. The young people also know Mzee
Yes.
Kawanga.
Thank you so much, Right Honorable Speaker, and thank you so much for giving the young people way. First of all, I rise to second the motion, and as a young person, I think we have learnt a lot from his life of service to this country, and the biggest attribute is the unifying factor that he gave at the time Uganda was being torn apart by the politics at that time. Uganda came first in all his thoughts, and he was very objective. He never considered religion or tribes or political parties. So Uganda is united because of his great effort that he played during the CA period. I beg to submit. Thank you.
Honorable Jim Akena.
On behalf of the Uganda People's Congress and on my own behalf,
Colleagues, order. Let's listen to one another.
we in the Uganda People's Congress share in the grief which has befallen the Democratic Party and the family of the late Paul Kawanga Semogerere. The last conversation I had with him was on the 1996 elections. And he was questioning how or whether my father totally supported his bid for the presidency. And I assured him that the struggle for multi-party politics was forefront. And it was clear that we do not have to agree on everything, but so long as the common ideal for better Uganda is before us, we can work with anyone in whatever circumstance. I am a little disappointed with the researchers in the Office of the Prime Minister on some of the elements in the tribute. One thing which was not captured, there was a lot of events which happened towards the end of 1969. Number one, the first president of Uganda and the King of Buganda passed away in November of 1969. About a month later, at the Delegates Conference of Uganda People's Congress, where the matter of whether to go one-party state or multi-party was prominent in that Delegates Conference, and the late president of Zambia, the late president of Tanzania attended that Delegates Conference. In Lugogo Stadium. After being shot, a grenade was thrown which did not explode. Now, this is the context under which the then Minister of Internal Affairs issued
Honorable, conclude.
statutory instrument number 233 of 1969. And I'm sure the Attorney General can guide us that a statutory instrument cannot ban political parties. That proof of this is 1980 elections were held under the 67 Constitution, which was enacted by UPC. And UPC, when it had the opportunity to write its own constitution, did not put in any article like Article 269 and remove the political parties. Hold the view surely.
Can you get another microphone, Honorable colleague, and you conclude? You see, colleagues, we have a few presidents in this house. So, I want us to benefit. Yeah?
For us in the Uganda People's Congress, are confident and assured that we won the 1980 elections fair and square. The fact, and it's good that I've got opposition here, I think it is very important if we're to resolve questions of history, because we're all creatures of this history, let us conclusively determine what happened in 1980, because as far as I can follow, it is hearsay. I've read the Hansard of the 1980s, when Paul Semogerere was in this very chamber. These issues did not go to the extent where people today talk that the 1980 elections were rigged. What I can say frankly and clearly, that opportunity gave others who were ready and prepared to struggle for the instruments of power and to control the government, that gave them the green light. As we stand today, we veil whereby anyone who wants to lead this country should go with their manifesto, speak to the people, get the mandate of the people, and come and govern. These other routes, I don't think it's tenable, and on that basis, us in the Uganda People's Congress and the Democrats hold that that is the route that we must follow. The route of democracy. I'm a small D Democrat.
Thank you.
I thank you, Right Honorable Speaker.
Thank you. Now, colleagues, please. I can see, I would want us to refocus the debate to what is happening today. Because I saw issues of 1980 elections when they came in. I saw some faces turning, which were smiling, started getting, you know, wrinkled. Now, some of us were not born when you were in those elections. I was not yet born. Okay? So I don't want to preside over a debate over issues which happened before I was born. Okay? No. I have other things to read. I'm looking at the future. If you didn't sort your issues, so you will allow me to pick Honorable Mugore Stephen.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. I would like to pay tribute to a fallen hero in the name of Dr. Semogerere. I recollect in 1995, around November, when I was a young man, in the company of Honorable Cecilia Ogwal, the late Adonia Teberondwa, the late Yona Kanyomozi, and the late Patrick Mwanda, who used to call himself a political blade of Usoga, presented to Dr. Semogerere by Reina Kafire, who was our former Member of Parliament. Dr. Semogerere had said during the interpolitical forces that even when he becomes the president, he will still be a minister for truce and reconciliation. So he was a conciliator. He wanted to form a ministry for truce and reconciliation. And because of the speech I made as a youth, the group headed by Honorable Cecilia Ogwal, who was the deputy by then too, they appointed me then that I would be the DRO, District Reconciliation Officer of Palisa, if we had one.
So are you among people who abandoned DP?
No. I came as a youth. That was interpolitical forces cooperation. And I was a youth who came and made a speech presented, who was brought to them by Honorable Reina Kafire, and Dr. Semogerere appointed him that when we win, and I can tell you, Palisa district then, which has 4 districts, we got 55% for Dr. Semogerere. What made me leave these people?
Switch on and conclude. Switch on and conclude on you.
When elections came,
what made you?
What made me leave?
Yeah.
Is Dr. Semogerere was betrayed by his own people. That even in Usiro, he was defeated. And all of us that side now turned and became NRM because his own people had betrayed him. But he was a very, very good reconciliator who wanted this government and this country to be peaceful at all the time. So that's why I remember him.
Thank you. Yes. Honorable
Oh, rest in
Natongo.
peace.
Thank you.
Thank you, Right Honorable
I
Speaker.
think she's the only DP lady in the House, so better listen to her.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. I rise to pay tribute to the late Dr. Semogere on behalf of all the young generation to which I belong. Despite having come to leadership at a young age. Right Honorable Speaker, the late was a mentor. He was a leader. He derived his joy in mentoring the youth, the young generation. We can all testify that so many of us leaders in this parliament passed through the hands of the late Dr. Semogere.
Colleagues, please, let's have order.
Right Honorable Speaker, what he did, sharing his wisdom to the young generation, was such a great deed indeed. My plea to leaders of this generation, the ones who are older than us, our elders, take time to mentor the youth. Take time to train the leaders of tomorrow. So many of us here are leaders because of the late. So I implore the elders to create leaders of tomorrow, the leaders you'd wish to leave this country in the hands of, the leaders you'd want to lead your children who you are giving birth to right now. Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker.
Honorable Taringaya. Are you among the people who abandoned him?
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker, for this opportunity to pay tribute to a great man, Dr. Paul Semogere. I'll make comments about the time I knew him. One, come 1980, during the general elections, that's when I first met him, when we were campaigning for Dr. Joseph Opio Lawyer as our guild president. Dr. Semogere was very calm. Even when we met in the Faculty of Agriculture, when Dr. Adoko Nichon was then prevented to speak on radio, and we were choosing Dr. Semogere of not helping out, he remained calm. He said, because Dr. Nichon was a brother to Dr. Apollo Milton Obote, he chose to keep calm. And that's when I saw that what he stood for, truth and justice, he came to this house even after we felt that the elections had been grabbed from under his feet. Yes, because...
Honorable, remain focused, you're protected. People want to grab your microphone the way they grab.
So for us, we remained focused, and he also remained focused and came here to defend the right that had voted him as a member of parliament. So I just pray to this house that what Dr. Semogere stood for, truth and justice and peace in this country, this government which I serve and the rest of us live to make sure that there is always peaceful change of government and we live in peaceful harmony. May his soul rest in eternal
Honorable
peace.
Megade.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, if P.K. Semogere was an academy, many of us would have been part of that academy. I started with the late Semogere's son, Paul Semakula, in the same class at Namilyango. And so the late, because we are from the same clan, the Rugavi clan, and from the islands, he called him his son. And when we joined university, during our days, where Mr. Speaker, I also recall, where I was a UID, and you belonging somewhere. Honorable Speaker, we were part of this academy. And when it came to 2011, I remember having a private conversation with the late Semogere because I had developed political interest at a higher level. And the issue was, which party are you going to contest on? Buvuma was a NRM stronghold. And the late PK, after that conversation, said, if you are sure you will win an NRM ticket, you have my blessing. I won, and since that day, we have remained. Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker.
Colleagues, please. Colleagues,
Right,
we are listening to what transpired in a private conversation. So you
Right,
are not there to doubt anything. So,
Right Honorable Speaker, since that day, I've been very comfortable where the late PK sent me, that is in the NRM, because he gave me a blessing. But what do we learn from this? Honorable Speaker, today, people can even change political parties 10 times for purposes of either going to parliament or winning local government elections. They are able to change even 10. Actually, most of us, even on this side, are now in different political parties. So, the late PK was a very good leader at a wrong time. Probably those at that time never understood him. And it is fortunate that for us who are around today, can understand and appreciate his contributions to this country. What message do we take? Today, people, when it comes to politics, it is a matter of life and death. PK, whether actually he lost or he won, but he never went to court. Your Honourable Speaker, last time, in 2021, we had 106 court petitions, specifically for members of parliament. Even the fourth person.
Honourable colleague, please, you concluded. Honourable Huda, then Honourable Felix Sokol.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity. I want to support the motion. Right Honourable Speaker, aware that late Semogere had aged, he was weak, but he had an immense oceans of experience and wisdom that was enough to be given for the young people. Therefore, his passing means that the young people in this country have lost all that immense experience that he's supposed to give for us. Right Honourable Speaker, late Semogere contested in 1996 in West Nile sub-region, let me talk specifically about Arua. He got 93%. The whole of almost North vote for Semugerere. That night, our young men, the energetic, got all their bows and arrows. They were fighting against the army men who were in uniform and who had a gun, protecting the vote of Semugerere. Whether you were young or old, whether you were 18 years to vote, all of us were aligned to vote, even if we were not 18 years. That's how we got that 93% in West Nile. But what surprised us...
You're saying he even got it by rigging? Because even those ones who were not yet of voting age voted.
I'm just trying to emphasize to you how the North was for late Semugerere. That is the emphasis that I'm putting. But in our own dismay, we were really betrayed here. Right Honorable Speaker, even by that time, the people of West Nile even wanted to walk up to Kampala to come and defend their votes. But the person they were died for was not supported where he came from. That was not enough. Again in 2001, when Besigye contested, we all voted for him, but the people of North were betrayed here. Therefore, the people of North learned a lesson. They have changed. This time when we voted for the current government, we were finger-pointed at. We were blamed at. But for how long will the people of North be betrayed? You tell us to move to the left. When we are moving to the left at night, you turn and move to the right. Right Honorable Speaker.
Order.
Order, colleagues. These are very painful experiences, but sometimes such incidents make us to share what we went through. But what do we learn from Honorable Semugerere or from late Semugerere?
Conclude, Honorable Sichon, and conclude.
First of all, Semugerere said, please, if I was betrayed this time, even if I had won in the region of the whole of northern Uganda and other parts of eastern, I knew my votes were not enough to take me to State House. Therefore, I am not going for court petitions, and he did not. And he never mobilized the people to go against the government that had won by that time, creating a peace.
Mr. Speaker, I first in 1996 through Cecilia Ogwal. That time we were campaigning for him. I was the agent and immediate agent for Cecilia Ogwal because we were all mobilized to support him. That time we were promised that through Cecilia Ogwal that Semugerere was going to win. And I met him in closed door in our house in Lira, and I was really convinced that this time we were going to take over. The second point that Cecilia Ogwal actually made to me and to us was that this is the opportunity for us from Lango to reconcile with Buganda. And we all supported Semugerere. Lango voted Semugerere 97.6%. That was the point of reconciliation. And that is what Uganda needs right now. I want to inform this parliament, if we want peace in this country, we must agree to leave the past and live in the present and reconcile with everyone. The second point that we should note from Semogerere, he was a very humble man. I met him in a house. Very simple, very humble, very sober. Very sober, by the way. That time we were running up and down, but he was calm. Actually, they even lied me one time. My sister Cecilia Gwal told me that money is coming through Kenya. And I repeat that one. So I was informed by my elder that you boys, little boys, in the morning, money is coming through Kenya. We all moved everywhere. We campaigned, but I did not see that money coming. Then I went to my brother, my sister. I said, now, when is it coming? He said that was a trick so that you all mobilize. But in the real sense, Uganda needs peace. The whole of North voted Semogerere, who was not from the North. That needs, we are not sectarian. We voted Besije, 97%. He was not from the North. This time we have voted Museveni, about 70%. Maybe next time we can give 97%. And therefore, I want to appeal to everyone in this country. The only message that we should give our people, let us do what our people want. Give them roads, give them peace, give them health, give them schools, power. You will get the votes. But don't stay here in Kampala and you don't give them those things and you want to go back to them. That will be murder. That will be catastrophe. I thank you very much, Mr.
Thank you. Colleagues, let's use only 2 minutes so that I can give more of you a chance. DP Mukono. Honorable Kayondo.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Mr. Speaker, when I hear such statements being spoken about Dr. Paulo Kawanga Ssemwogerere the late, I feel I'm proud to be a DP. I feel special that I belong to Democratic Party. Honorable Speaker, I got little time to interact with the lady. But he told me 2-3 things. He told me, Fred, disagreement does not mean hatred. It doesn't mean that the people you disagree with, you should hate them. You can disagree, but don't hate each other. Honorable Speaker, Dr. Paulo Kawanga Ssemwogerere handed over the leadership of DP when he was still alive. It is a challenge to some of political party leaders here, whom I will not mention. I think it should be a lesson that you can live to see your successors. Honorable Speaker, I'm talking about a gentleman who didn't keep any grudge over the people he disagreed with. It is rumored that Honorable Kawanga Ssemwogerere won the 1980 elections. I wasn't born. I was born 25th of November 1984. I was not born by then. But it is rumored. But Honorable Paul Kawanga Ssemwogerere did not even choose the route other people choose. Others claimed that simply because the elections were rigged, they went to the bush to defend the votes which were rigged. Even when they won the war, the victory was not given back to Dr. Paul Kawanga Ssemwogerere. Dr. Kawanga Ssemwogerere humbled him.
A minute to conclude, Honorable.
Honorable Speaker, people who took Dr. Paul Kawanga Ssemwogerere, who took his victory, they are here making praises over him, whose victory they took and never returned to him, Honorable Speaker. When I asked him, Honorable Kawanga Semogerere, why did people choose another route for you you didn't take? Why didn't you take that? He told me, Fred, however bad the economy of the jungle might be, the lion will not eat grass. Not because it is proud, but that is its nature. My nature is peace, and I will always remain peaceful. Dr. Kawanga Semogerere remained peaceful even up to his death. Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker.
Now, you see, then Honorable Kayondo, you have to be very cautious. A man who was very peaceful, you want him to benefit from proceeds of a war. He said he can't go shed blood. Now you want those who fought, they hand over. Yes, Abim, and then I'll pick Youth Northern. Yes.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker.
Then Okupa.
I want to support the motion to pay tribute to an admirable son of Uganda, the late Paul Semogerere, a political stalwart, a principled man who was admired by many. Right Honorable Speaker, the late Semogerere was a very objective person, and he provided very objective checks and balances that contributed to the good governance of our country. He was an opposition leader that was admired by many, and I also admired him because I also worked with him at a tender age when the people of Kotido voted me for being a very good person who completed education without getting derailed. So I am speaking about a person who was my father, who I admired very much. Right Honorable Speaker, the late Semogerere was very calm person, and very cool-headed. I think that is the reason he's said to be the longest serving DP president. He served from 1980 to 2005. Right Honorable Speaker, he was also a man who was down to earth, and he mentored so many, including some of us who are seated here. So we have lost a great man, we have lost a Bible and a dictionary for the country.
Thank you. Honorable Court.
Thank you, Right Honorable. I rise in support of the motion on two accounts. Number one, that the Honorable Dr. Semogerere, even in his demise, will continue to be an inspiration to many young people who are interested in elective politics. Going by his biography, he was very consistent in participating in politics throughout his life. And this speaks to his belief that through politics, we can develop our communities and we can unite our people. Unlike now, where many people look at politics as a means to divide and also cause hatred, which is very unfortunate. Secondly, Right Honorable, Semogerere also spoke about the need for deliberate mentorship programs for young people.
Honorable Cooper.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, I stand here to support the motion moved by the Right Honorable Prime Minister and seconded by my brother, who is the acting LOP today. I came to meet Dr. Semogerere in 1991 in St. Leo's College, Kyogobe, where I was a student in my A-level. He came there to address us, the students. And I picked one thing from him, that which he told us, that young people, while you are at school, while you are growing, make friends. Not just friends, but make useful friends. That has stuck to me. The friends I have are useful friends. So if you are my friend, you are a useful person, which I picked from Dr. Semogerere. Come 1996, at Makerere University, Honorable Cecilia Ogwal, as mentioned earlier, mobilized us, together again with the Dr. Semogerere, and I was one of the key campaigners at University Hall. After the campaign at Makerere University on that day, we went back to our halls jubilating. At around about 11:30 p.m., I was in my room with my roommate, Abat Ouma. A fellow student came with a pistol, threatening us that why were we supporting Dr. Semogerere, which was very unfortunate. We supported him because of his character, what has been described here. And that's why we supported him. His wife, Professor Gemina, was my lecturer at undergraduate and also my supervisor at the postgraduate.
Honorable Schatz.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. On behalf of the people of Maogola North, Sembabule District, I rise to support the motion to pay tribute to the late Dr. Kawanga Semogerere. I grew up in a DP household, and at a young age, I do remember talking to, when people would come home, I would ask them at the gate, which party do you belong to? And if they didn't say DP, they didn't enter. So I was quite aware of the politics at that time, even as a young person. The late Dr. Kawanga Semogerere was a man who did not believe in violence, even when it was the only choice left to him. He was a Democrat in an era that was not ripe for his methods. He was a patient man of God. We owe him a debt of gratitude. We're grateful to the NRM government that gave him a befitting funeral, and I hope we continue to espouse the ideals of truth and justice. May his soul rest in peace.
Thank you, honorable colleagues. We've gone beyond the time I had allocated. I know each one of us wanted to talk about the rate because really he has had a very big contribution. Honorable Okupa is independent. Honorable Shatsi is independent. So, so honorable colleagues, you know, this is when my job becomes difficult here. You look at colleagues, you see each one was going to submit very important points, but unfortunately you're limited by time. I wish I could get more time. I would allow all of you colleagues. Colleagues, like you have all said, we have a lot of lessons to learn from the rate. Personally, I never interacted with him physically, but I interacted with him emotionally and intellectually from the contribution he has made to the country, from his works, and of course, his name is well written into our annals of history. I think as the generation that never lived through that time, I had wanted colleagues who were in CA, and I thought Honorable Anifa had moved out, because Honorable Anifa was in CA with the rate, so I had wanted to give her an opportunity. But so before I could conclude, because I don't see any other person who was in CA. Yeah, they were just a few. Yes. So let the one who was in CA with the rate. Really, it's an opportunity. Even you, Honorable Cyrus, 30 years from now, we shall say those who are in the 11th Parliament.
Thank you so much, Right Honorable Speaker. And maybe for the first time, I want to declare my interest here that, yes, I was in the CA, but even the Right Honorable Speaker, I'm the mother-in-law. Yeah. Therefore, when he gives me this opportunity again, it makes some of you, and you know, most of you refer to me as Senga. Because, yeah, and the spirit I have today, like my sister, Honorable Siri Ogwaro, whom we are together, and I think today we are still together here. The peaceful political tolerance we have, we emulated the late Dr. Paul Semogerere. That's what I wanted to say. Now, when you look at yourselves as of today, politically, are you tolerant to your other people? Your colleagues, even when you look from that side to our side. We have heard he was a peaceful man. Very peaceful. A unifier. He wanted to see a peaceful, stability, political Uganda. Is it what we are seeing today? And when you are there, you say, we are tired of these old people with the new generation. What are the new generation have emulated from us who have been there? My prayer, can we take this opportunity politically to tolerate each other, though we come from different political ideologies? As of now, I don't see anybody other than me who is still from where they started from. There are somewhere I see Honorable, my brother-in-law, Honorable Akena. You are where? What is happening this side? On that note, as a leader, as a singer, as somebody who has been there, and the little changes you are seeing in me is what I'm emulating, that we must tolerate each other politically, and we can live together. And this country is for all of us. We can shape it together. We can survive together. We can make it what we want, the good Uganda we want it to be. Those who are really advancing intolerance and violence, take it from me that it is high time we came together politically. We are here today. Other people will be here. Some of us are lucky we are here 30 years now. But let's tolerate each other for the good of our country. I thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, honorable colleagues. Colleagues, like I was saying, we have to learn from such a great men and women. I think like how we found it okay, and how we are still looking at the late Dr. Kawanga Semogerere, a person who came and worked closely with government. Even other people working with government, as long as the purpose is serving our country, should be okay. To me, as long as the end result is Uganda being better, you know, not being looked at as if you've betrayed so-and-so because you've greeted so-and-so. We sit in a canteen, we laugh. We are in a bus, we laugh. But when we get on microphones, we start chopping each other. You don't know, I really sometimes ask myself. And then the Honorable Semogerere never feared the competition. Some of you colleagues, you're already crying that you have competitors standing. In politics, you have competition. In politics, you have competition. And if you utilize competition very well, competition makes you better. Because competition keeps you on your toes, competition doesn't allow you to sleep, and in the end, the public benefits. So both on the side of government and on the side of opposition, we have competition, but the issue is which kind of competition. Okay? Let us have a constructive competition, a constructive exchange of ideas, the way the late Honorable Semogerere was doing it. Another thing, when you look at the size of the late Semogerere, you can see he was a man living healthy. To reach 90 years, I think it requires a size like his. We have to work on our bodies. We have to work hard. You see, you can see my Prime Minister here. The moment she goes on a treadmill, you can't dare her. I've seen her. So let's try to live healthy. Let's look after our bodies very well so that we can live longer and people benefit from us. Otherwise, if you're to walk just around 10 meters and you're already panting and, struggling, then we, especially the young people, won't be. Please stop mentioning names here. Yes. So I want to thank the Right Honourable Prime Minister and government and the opposition for working together to pay tribute to this great statesman. You're giving a very good example to the nation that on matters of national priority, you can work together. And that is very, very important, especially for the young generation. Now, colleagues, I want to put a question on the motion for a resolution of Parliament, pay tribute to the late Dr. Paul Kawanga Semogerere for his eminent and dedicated service to the Republic of Uganda. Those in favor say aye, and the contrary nay. Aye. The ayes have it. Next item. Clerk, extract the resolution and pass it on to the family.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. With your indulgence, I just wanted to point out that the motion did not stop at that. I moved an amendment on naming a prime road after the late Dr. Semogerere, and the question has not been put on that. I would request that you be pleased to put that question for completeness. Thank you very much.
Honorable colleague, I think I've seen many roads named after very many people, and I don't think it is usually through such motions. It's by the time government brings such a motion, if you work very closely with your sister, it can be done without even, resolutions. So, Honorable Prime Minister, you can comment on that. We move. We don't need the parliamentary resolutions on naming of roads. Colleagues, next item. I've already. Honorable colleague, please.
Mr. Speaker, motions are not dealt with that way. A motion is resolved here. I appreciate your guidance, and it is good guidance as a leader. But the way we deal with motions here is that a motion is put, a question is put on the motion, and is decided. I would implore you.
And that's what I've done.
No. You have not put a question on the second leg of the motion for it to be handled by Parliament.
Clerk, next item.
Item number 5, presentation of action taken report on the resolutions of the 11th Parliament, May 2021 to May 2022.
Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Right Honourable Speaker and colleagues, I move under Rule 220 of our Rules of Procedure to submit before this House the action taken report
Procedure, Mr. Speaker.
on resolution
Procedure, Mr. Speaker.
The first
Procedure.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. The procedural matter I want to raise, Right Honourable Speaker, and I beg your indulgence, is on the issue my colleague Horace Ogasegon had put, and you had asked the Right Honourable Prime Minister to make a comment. Dr. Semogerere was a peaceful man. I don't want us to live here with a divided thing. It's a very simple thing which can be done. It's not some difficult thing. So procedurally, would it be right for a Prime Minister to just give a nod and we move peacefully?
Honorable Cooper, I've spoken to the rope. If you are watching, we have reconciled positions. We'll handle it in our own cubicles. Right, Honorable Prime Minister, proceed. But she can still comment on it. If I've not stopped her, if she wants to make a comment. Yeah.
Right Honourable Speaker and colleagues, as a national leader, let me guide that there are procedures of having roads named against people, and we shall use the same procedure. Right Honourable Speaker, I beg to go to the next item. Honourable Speaker and colleagues, I move under Rule 220 of our Rules of Procedure to submit before this House the action taken report on resolutions of the first session of the 11th Parliament, that is from May 2021 to May 2022. I spoke the other day about this forward. Then I would definitely go to the objectives. The objective of this report, Honourable Speaker, is to provide information to Parliament on action taken by government, ministries, departments and agencies in fulfillment of Rule 220 of our Rules of Procedure of Parliament of Uganda. I talk about the scope. Honourable Speaker, the leader of government business in front of you we considered the resolutions of the 11th Parliament of the period from May 2021 to May 2022 and engaged the responsible ministries, departments and agencies on the actions taken. And these ministries include the Ministry of Gender, Labour and Social Development, Ministries of Works and Transport, the Ministry of Agriculture, Animal Industry and Fisheries, Ministry of Health, Ministry of Education, Ministry of Finance, Planning and Economic Development, Ministry of Internal Affairs, the Ministry of Defense and Veteran Affairs, the Ministry for the Presidency, the Ministry of Justice and Constitutional Affairs, the Ministry of Information, Communication and Technology, the Office of the Prime Minister, Ministry of Water, and I think they have forgotten the Ministry of Lands. The methodology we used, Right Honourable Speaker, in considering the resolutions, we interacted with the Office of the Clerk of Parliament. We considered the same through Cabinet, like I had told you last Thursday, and held meetings with different government ministries, departments and agencies. We also reviewed a number of documents. We used the answered, also used the correspondences from the Office of the Clerk to Parliament, to my office. the government chief whip, and resolutions of parliament. We also use the correspondences from relevant ministries, departments, and agencies. As Honorable Speaker, we have Chapter 2. This chapter clearly outlines the date, title, resolution, action taken by the relevant ministries. However, some of the pending resolutions require legislation and policy formulation, and the government is in the process of initiating the necessary legislation and policies. Honorable Speaker, it is at this time that I request you to allow the Ministry of Justice and Constitutional Affairs to present. And I request that members be patient because it's a big volume. And therefore, I request you, Right Honorable Speaker, to allow the Ministry of Justice to start, Ministry of Health, in that order. Thank you so much. I beg to submit.
Yeah, thank you, Right Honorable Prime Minister. I really want to first thank you for the detailed work I've seen. I've read through the whole document. I've seen some of the resolutions. You just captured the resolution without looking at recommendations, while on some, you captured both the resolution and recommendations. So some ministries. I had in my mind, I had wanted to propose to the House that we should first go back and each minister submits independently so that we are able, because you see, these resolutions, now the Prime Minister has done good work. No one can doubt. Because you see, the duty of the Prime Minister is to coordinate. You have coordinated government and the reports are ready. But how do we present them? Because when you go on the Hansard, Right Honorable Prime Minister, it was a substantive item. It must have a substantive action taken report, as per rules. Otherwise, they will all be roasting. You will never track these reports on any single day. But now, the ones which are ready, colleagues, I would propose, the ones which we are seeing now, okay? What we do, we can amend item number 5, so that we have 5 Roman 1 is justice, 5 Roman 2 is health, so that in future we are able to track. We say this action report for justice was under item 5 Roman 1. Otherwise, you will never get it. We need a Hansard which will be used 100 years from now. And then, after each minister has presented, Right Honorable Prime Minister, we shall give an opportunity to the shadow minister. The shadow minister. Because now we are in serious action to see, because we had a lot of debate, these are resolutions of Parliament. And these are real checks and balances we want to focus on. Otherwise, even if you don't, during debate, members are going to raise it. And the leader of opposition gave me notes he already prepared. So when you submitted, the shadow ministers, the shadow ministers also prepared. Colleagues, I don't know whether you think this can work very well. Honorable Apea, Agnes?
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker, and thank you for this very important report. I see it as really one of the tools for accountability, for us to really account for what we've done and said here. Right Honorable Speaker, I've read through the report, and the report is only focusing on the resolutions, which is okay, but our rules, 220, requires that you also pay attention to the recommendations. They are very critical recommendations that this House has often passed through the committee reports. But if you look at this report, in my view, it's really not capturing everything that we would have hoped to see as members of Parliament. I thank you.
Yeah, to some extent, that was on our side, how we extracted the resolution and we told them to implement. But you see, Right Honourable Prime Minister, ministers are members of parliament. They are here with us. They participate in approving and adopting the reports. So really, let us work as a team. We avoid the situation of saying you didn't send me a report. When a report is on the Hansard, I think one should always access the report and the Hansard, and you look at the recommendation. I saw like the response from Trade, from Minister of Trade. It's very detailed, and even Hearst, by the way. They were going recommendation by recommendation by recommendation. But some were stopping at a resolution, which is just a headline, and they focus on that. So we failed to get a very good report. Honorable Boss, what do you say about this? As a senior Right Honorable Prime Minister, you know when you speak now, your people keep quiet. So you always want to pick their views.
Right Honorable Speaker, I think I'm tempted to agree with the guidance. And can you protect me from...
You're protected, Honorable.
I don't want to mention the name of his constituents because it sounds strange. Right Honorable, I think as you've spoken, guided, especially on our part, we were purely responding to issues raised by Parliament. But as you've said, we could have gone beyond that, just the resolution. I think even my ministry, I don't know whether we have any recommendations, but I think it's another additional guidance that would enrich the debate, and then we have a fully fledged report. I think I would go with your guidance. Yeah.
Thank you. Rob?
Right Honourable Speaker, thank you very much. I have always agreed with my young brother, Honourable Jacob Oboth, for over 20 years. And that's why, even in law school, I would give him my books to read and my notes. But my point of departure this afternoon is whereas the minister seeks to hide under your concession that probably the extraction might not have captured everything, the rules are instructional, and the rules are saying both resolutions and recommendations. I think it is also compelling on the part of humility for us to say, yes, we all missed out something. When the matter came up and when the instruction went out, now that the presiding officer has noticed, it is upon us to look at the specific action points taken by the ministries. And we point out where a particular ministry has complied with the rules, we dispose of that. Where a ministry has not complied with the rules, we give them time to go and make good whatever has not been sorted. One, that we will not lose time, but at the same time, we'll comply with our rules by looking at both recommendations and as we said, both recommendations and resolutions. I thank you.
Thank you. So, yes. No, the problem, recommendations were part of the resolution. Yeah? So,
yeah.
And then Honorable Katuntu.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker.
Don't mind.
Right Honourable Speaker.
I want us to agree on a very clear way that will benefit all of us.
Yes.
Huh?
Thank you. Right Honourable Speaker. The Prime Minister's task which we are given is on our iPad. And the other time the presiding officer directed that we should read and internalize. We read. Right Honourable Speaker, I would like to explore the Prime Minister and the various ministries. When they are coming back with a report, let them indicate the date Parliament passed the resolutions. Upon the indication of the date, let them tell us the actions that were taken. And on that action, let them be specific on the time frame of that particular action. For example, if they're saying the Minister of Works has been directed to work on the particular road, let them tell us the time frame that the government thinks the work should have started. But what we are seeing here is just quite open. They are not specific. They should be really specific so that it guides honorable member.
You see, Honorable, what we are on, the rule 220 says resolutions or recommendations. Okay? But now, for us, we want a rich response. Because if one says, oh, me, I chose a resolution, but the resolutions is where we usually have very, very many issues covered. To me, as a team which works together, because Parliament and the Executive work together, if you look at the resolution, when you look at the one for Minister of Works, okay? So what they did on the resolution of Parliament urging government to strengthen efforts for promoting road safety in Uganda. Resolution 1, the action taken, that's recommendation 1. They extracted recommendation 2, action taken. Recommendation 3, action taken. It's very detailed, it's very rich, it helps you, okay? But now when you say, for example, if they had said resolution of Parliament urging government to strengthen efforts for promoting road safety in Uganda, and they say we are amending the act, they have answered you. That's action. But does it help? It doesn't. So we want to go deeper. We want to go deeper, we interact, we see which is implementable, and we be honest with each other. Then also Parliament will see maybe there are resolutions we passed and they are very difficult to implement. You become honest to each other. It helps us. Even enriches next time the debate when we are passing resolutions. We know we should only pass what can be implemented. What cannot be, we cannot manage. Honorable, how do you wanted to guide? Let Honorable Zemungu finish and then you give final guidance, Honorable Katunda.
Thank you very much, and I want to thank the Prime Minister for giving us what he has laid today. But as the Vice Chairperson of the Committee on Government Assurances, under Rule 179, most of the business and actions given here almost relate to the committee I'm chairing currently when my boss is not around. Now, anything by any action, for example, Honourable Speaker, as you have rightly stated, and I want to thank you very much that this committee you have facilitated it very well, because for us, we cannot make any report without making on-spot assessment. Now, under UNRWA, if you said Roman, let me just make a quotation from the Prime Minister's statement. UNRWA is working with the Ministry of Works and Transport to provide alternative materials for traffic signs such as fiberglass for sign plates. They are working. But the moment you don't provide a specific time when this objective or action will be achieved, then as Committee of Government Assurances and Implementation under Rule 179, we get a problem because we have to go and assess and report back to Parliament. And fortunately, the framers of these rules, which actually are us, we are right. Where government fails, it is right to come back and say, give us more time, or we have failed to do this, and withdraw the promise or what you have given to Parliament. So, right now, Speaker, I pray and I support you as you have stated. We need that specific assurance from this Parliament, from the Prime Minister, because after adopting this action plan, the next step, right now, Speaker, under your leadership and guidance, you are going to give us support to go and prove whether what these people were asking actually took place. When you talk about cattle rustling, giving people back their cattle, we have to assess who got them, or they were stolen, or they were given to other people.
Thank you. Honorable Katuntu.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker.
I think these are two issues which are different.
Now, Honorable Katunto, just let me reassure the Honorable Prime Minister. Honorable Prime Minister, you're suffering for nothing. It's the minister who is supposed to bring the action report. Stop burdening yourself. We are not frustrating you. We are working with you. And me, I appreciate the fact that you have coordinated. So the rule is very clear. The minister, because this resolution was falling under certain docket. Now you've done your work, you've brought them together, and they have given a good report by them. But what we are saying is we need it well structured so that it can be well tracked and well followed. Otherwise, when we open a debate here, there are things I've seen in here among the actions taken. When you say you will inform the president, it's been 5 months. You have not informed him. You're saying you will. It can't be an action taken. It means you have not taken any action. So, Prime Minister, I'm trying to ensure that we have a debate which will help us. Otherwise, we shall have a quarrel when we go into some of these issues. Honorable Katun, let Honorable Katun come, then I give you.
Well, thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. I think the problem originates within our rules when we use resolution and or recommendations. You see, Parliament acts through resolutions. Once a recommendation has been adopted by the House, then it is no longer a recommendation.
It's a resolution.
It is a resolution.
Yeah.
And that is where the clerk's office should be faulted. When you are extracting a parliamentary decision, just know that once the House has resolved, then it's no longer a recommendation of a committee. Now that is a parliamentary resolution. So there should be no difference. You can't say these were the recommendations of Parliament, these were the resolutions of Parliament. Don't divorce the two. So if there is a report, and I know where the problem comes from, Right Honourable Speaker, because standalone motions sometimes, they say Parliament hereby resolves. So that's the only resolutions they extract. But if there is a parliamentary report which has made recommendations, and those recommendations, Right Honourable Speaker, are from the committee to the House. I want to emphasize, parliamentary committee recommendations are recommendations to the House. And once the House acts on them by adoption, they are no longer recommendations. They are now resolutions. So the clerk's office should be clear on that. When you are communicating, you need to see the report which was adopted, what were the recommendations, transmit them or record them as resolutions of Parliament. Then we will not have this confusion.
Thank you. And I think this speaks to what I said at the beginning. Honorable Abudu, that's what I said at the beginning. Okay? That's what I said, that on our side, we should have communicated. But you see, also on the side of cabinet, it is taking a convenient route. You're behaving as if you are not members of Parliament. Here, ministers are in Parliament. Whether you attended or not, you are supposed to access the Hansard, you access the report. We are not like countries where ministers don't sit in Parliament. So when you're a member of Parliament and you say, a report was not communicated to me, I didn't access the Hansard, I didn't access what? But again, it can be a good defense on your side. So we should have extracted more details and we share. If it's a report, we adopt a report or we pick out a report and the Hansard even, so that you even see where the debate, how the debate was moving. We conclude with you, Honorable Mama Syria, then
thank you, Chair.
I guide.
Thank you,
how.
Speaker.
Then Prime Minister, I guide on the next step.
Thank you, Speaker. I think this is a convergent point. This is where we have always operated at different lane, because the government has always taken that Parliament is not appreciating its position. But now, with this initiative, Right Honourable Speaker, you are actually moving closer to the executive and saying we are ready to support you
in ensuring that whatever you say in Parliament is implemented. And this is where the government should have appreciated. More so, Right Honorable Speaker, the Prime Minister and the Executive should know that you have put in place, the Commission has put in place, the operational office of the leader of government business, which operates purely on what is discussed in Parliament, recommendation or resolution as we have been told, and pass it on to different ministries. So whether the minister is here or not, the office of the leader of government business and chief whip are supposed to capture all those in details and pass them on to different ministries. So, Right Honorable Speaker, I want to say that this is a very good initiative you have brought, and I hope that the Prime Minister will operate at a better level from now on. I thank you, Right Honorable Speaker.
Right Honorable Prime Minister.
Right Honorable Speaker, I want to take this opportunity to thank you and also thank my grandson, Abdu Katundu, because that's why you have been seeing me stand up, because I know the recommendations of Parliament are resolutions, are made into resolutions of Parliament. And it is because of this that the clerk, and I know the clerk is a seasoned lawyer. He knows all the operations of this house because he has been here longer than all of us. He's the one who gave us those resolutions which we acted on. But I take your concerns that we needed to have details. But there are those ministries that did exactly what you are talking about. Why don't we handle those? Why?
You're still waiting for my guidance, Right Honorable. I haven't concluded. Now you're concluding on my behalf. I'm the presiding officer. Yes, Jonathan.
Mr. Speaker, I want to thank you. Given the explanation from the Right Honorable Prime Minister, this question I posed it before, I want you to clarify today. If we borrow practice from other areas where government land, for example, the judiciary, when a presiding judge or magistrate decides on a case, the registrars or whoever can extract, but before it is brought back to that judicial officer to sign it off. And this has been the missing link here in Parliament, that these resolutions are extracted from somewhere. I believe they bypass the office of the Speaker, the presiding officer who sat here, who formulated and knows the kind of resolution that have been made. So I'm kindly requesting, if it pleases you, that going forward, no resolution should actually leave this Parliament if it is not certified under the hand of the Speaker who presided over that session. That way we are not going to miss anything. I want to submit.
Thank you. Colleagues, the clerk and team really have done a wonderful job. You see, sometimes these details, going into so much detail, the clerk has been a member of Parliament. So he has been a member of Parliament who knows that indeed when you're, whether you're a minister, whether you're what, whether you attended or not, you go with the whole, you know, with the whole resolution and the whole report. It's not that this was failure to do work or what, but it was a summary, and yet we are demanding for a detail. Okay? So we are going, I've talked to him, I talked to him earlier on, and we agreed we are going to work on a detail, we submit you. But luckily enough, like I said earlier on, and the Prime Minister has repeated, there are those ministries which gave a detailed response on the issues. So, Right Honourable Prime Minister, I don't know whether you want us to follow what is in your book. I can see. Yes, I had mentioned it. I said the rope, the shadow ministers. Yes, I thought they first present, and then the shadow minister comes and...
You see, Right Honourable Speaker, there is no controversy in this. And like I mentioned earlier, we are not into this for politics, but for quality of governance in this country.
Sure.
When and service delivery. When the matter was raised and the Prime Minister uploaded her statement, we moved and responded. And I even served her with a copy of our response. Because to me, it's a better style, it's neat. Like I mentioned, the Prime Minister and her ministers are going to give us the details. What I had done was equally to prepare an executive summary before I go into the details of each. But if it is the guidance of the Speaker and concurrence of the House, I am equally at peace with the presenting after they have presented. I have no problem. Mine was only an executive summary before my ministers go to the details of the respective ministries. I'm okay with either approach.
Thank you, Alop. So we are starting with the Ministry of Justice. And Alop, I hope your response is also uploaded on the system for colleagues to access. Okay. So can Crack help us give them a copy? Please, technical people of Alop, ensure that it's uploaded for colleagues to follow up. Oh, it's there?
Thank you very much, Right Honourable Speaker. Honourable colleagues, this is the action taken report from Ministry of Justice and Constitutional Affairs. I said item 2.1, we start with the title. This was the reason.
On record, this is item 5, Roman 1.
5 Roman 1, yes.
For record purposes.
Yes, 5 Roman 1.
The one of Alop is also uploaded, the response of Alop. It says, what's the title, Alop? If we could get the title, sorry, Attorney General, give us the title so that members can easily track it on our fresco.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. We did file a response. It is named the response from the opposition on the action taken report from the Prime Minister, May 2021 to May 22.
So colleagues, you should be able now to access it. It's uploaded. Very good. Yes, Attorney General, continue.
Thank you very much, Right Honourable Speaker. Right Honourable Speaker, honourable colleagues, the issue to address here is Parliament made a resolution urging the government to address the challenges facing the girl child and children in general in the digital era. The first item that Parliament resolved was government to implement the Trafficking in Persons Act 2019 and the Anti-Pornography Act 2014. The action taken, Right Honourable Speaker, action taken was that the Trafficking in Persons Act is being implemented in accordance with the law, that is by prosecution of persons who are found guilty of such offences. However, the Anti-Pornography Act, Right Honourable Speaker, 2014 was subject of a constitutional petition where the court found that Section 1.2 on the definition of pornography was unconstitutional. An appeal against this decision has been filed by the Attorney General's chambers. The implementation of the Anti-Pornography Act has therefore been made difficult by the deletion of the definition of pornography.
Now, Attorney General, you see, for such reports, you have to read verbatim. Yes.
Much obliged.
Yeah, but
much
continue
obliged.
where you had this one.
Thank you. Then Resolution 2 is the Attorney General to present to Parliament the status of implementation of Penal Code Act intended to protect both the girls and the boy child against female genital mutilation, rape, defilement, child marriage, and other forms of child abuse. Action taken. The very nature of the Penal Code Act is to provide offences and punishment for those offences. Therefore, successful implementation of Penal Code Act requires securing convictions of offences committed. Right Honourable Speaker, The table at the next page shows the statistics of the offenses that have been reported, how they have been handled to conviction. The first column shows the offense, which is we have rape, aggravated defilement, and simple defilement. For example, you have newly registered cases and case files. For rape, we had 1,036 cases. Those were new. And then by gender desegregation of the case files that we now have 1,130 cases of adult males and 4 of females, 38 of juvenile, which are boys, and 2 male PWDs, persons with disabilities, and 1 female. The cases that are sanctioned, these are cases that have been investigated and sanctioned for trial by the DPP. We have 590 cases of rape that have been sanctioned in the period under question. The cases on mention altogether as at May 2022 were 1,761. The ones that were consented to, that is work in progress and completed, were 10. And then the further inquiries, the ones that we requested for further inquiries, were 302. The ones under hearing are 323, and the ones that are taken for committal, all these offenses are capital, Right Honorable Speaker. And these offenses have to be committed to the High Court. Those ones that have been sent for committal are 432. The convicted cases in the period under issue were 49. That is May 2021 to May 2022. We had 49 convictions, and we had 49 convictions of males and 6 convictions of females. We had 1 acquittal from males and none for the females. These are by gender segregation. We had 14 withdrawals. Those are cases that were filed, had been sanctioned, and along the way we find they could not get a conviction and have been withdrawn. Then we have 9 cases that were dismissed. These cases are dismissed for want of prosecution. Say probably you don't get the witnesses coming to court. So those were 9 that were dismissed. We have none that were revised, and therefore the cases that the closed files for that period were 209. I don't know whether I should all the tables.
Clerk, capture the whole table and all details.
Most obliged.
Answered.
So, Right Honorable Speaker, the office of the DPP continues. Now, this is just an addition. The office of the DPP continues to prosecute cases relating to the girl child. Right Honorable Speaker, for FGM, which was not included in the table here, it was a long table with all the offenses. So I think in desegregating them, we missed that. We had 7 cases in the period 2021 after May, and 40 cases in 2022 of FGM, female genital mutilation. These offenses were mainly committed in the areas in Nakonyen village, in Katikekile parish, Topak sub-county, which is a grazing area in the Karamoja sub-region. We also had in November 2022, which is recent, as I report now, 1 conviction of a person who, an elderly woman, a 46-year-old woman, who was sentenced to 4 years in prison for procuring 4 girls aged 13 to 15 years to acts of female genital mutilation. Right Honorable Speaker and Honorable colleagues, on the next issue was Parliament's resolution on urging government to immediately stop cattle rustling and restore peace in the security in the sub-regions of Teso, Lango, Acholi, Karamoja, Bugisu, and Sebei. The specific resolution in this regard to Ministry of Justice was that government verifies and pays compensation to the people who have lost livestock and property in cattle. Right Honorable Speaker and Honorable colleagues, this resolution was sent to Ministry of Justice, but we understood it to mean, that is how it was captured, but we understood it to mean the people who lost livestock and property in as far as the wars were concerned, because that is what Ministry of Justice was handling. We have received from Parliament 50 billion shillings towards the compensation. By the end of the financial year 2021-2022, we had paid out 49 billion 345 million 708,595 shillings, and we had 654 million 291 million 405, which was bounced payments. Right Honourable Speaker and Honourable colleagues, we have set out in the tables below the amounts of the award debt claimants paid by each district. Right Honourable Speaker and Honourable colleagues, we regularly submit to Parliament the list of names, and we did before the end of the financial year, of the particular names of persons who are... Yes.
Actually, there is no mix-up, but apparently, Right Honourable Speaker, why I want to seek clarification from the Learned Attorney General is we seem to be reading from different texts. Beyond the figures they have paid for in compensation, that is the 49 billion and so on. There is nothing more than that, and I don't know where he's reading the rest from. We would seek clarification. Even the table that he's talking about, because immediately after that, he goes to resolution number 4.
Did you, Attorney General, did you submit, did you update like your report? Because the one uploaded has the details. It's there on the screen.
Thank you. Right now, Speaker, what the Attorney General is reading, there are two areas. One, here in the floor of Parliament, the issues were raised about the cattle rustling, whereby the Karamojas, they are crossing to Dachole, Lango, and Teso, raiding cattle of the community. And another issue is about the compensation of the lost animals. So the resolution passed by Parliament, what the Attorney General is supposed to answer is about the cattle rustling, not the compensation.
No, that's for internal affairs. That
Yes.
can't be Attorney General.
Yeah.
Attorney General is answering compensation.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
Then cattle rustling is under internal affairs.
Yes, but right now, Speaker, if you read the headings,
No, he mentioned
it's talk of cattle rustling.
Yes, he mentioned that.
It's
okay?
Thank
He
you.
mentioned that. He
Most obliged.
clarified when he said we took it that you meant this compensation. So we shall make that correction on the record. That's why we shall debate
Thank
the
you very
action
much,
taken.
Right Honourable Speaker.
But Attorney General, what the shadow, what the rope says, you served him a different document. So I think and his responses are based on the old document. But we shall come to that later, Rope. We can give you time to respond later, after. Yeah, for now, use your iPad.
Right Honourable Speaker, at right under the action taken, we say government commenced compensation for cattle lost in Acholi, Lango, and Teso sub-regions. To date, 17,000 claimants have been paid a total of 49 billion, with unspent 654 million 291 because of bounced payments as shown below. So here we have only shown the monies that have been paid, and the ones that bounced, that money was taken back to the consolidated fund. Yeah, we've set out the payments for all the regions, district by district, but we have the detail of even the individual who was paid, and we laid it on the table of Parliament before the close of the financial year. Yeah. Resolution 4, Right Honourable Speaker, according to Article 79 of the Constitution, a law be enacted to adequately and specifically criminalize, penalize, and make raiding a very expensive and consequential venture to all perpetrators and abettors. Right Honourable Speaker and Honourable colleagues, there is already an offence in the Penal Code Act that deals with cattle rustling. But government is currently reviewing the Penal Code Act, and therefore there is an opportunity to study the possibility of introducing other offenses related to cattle rustling in the Penal Code Act. But it's already an offense under the law. I beg to submit. Right Honourable Speaker, those were the only resolutions that came to Ministry of Justice. But like Right Honourable Speaker, like you guided, a resolution like this one will be handled by like 3 or 4 ministries, and each one of them will be speaking to their specific aspect, and I'll speak to the law. I beg to submit. Thank you.
How we usually do when we are making the final pronouncement, because that's from the presiding officer, we have one ministry that coordinates, because you don't work in silos. Otherwise, you're going to have 4 ministers coming presenting on one resolution. You will never finish. That would mean that also ROP has to respond 4 times. We debate 4 times on the same resolution. So we feel government, since you're one, you're well integrated. We have a lead ministry, a lead agency, then you bring in others, and then they can come and support you on the floor once we have a debate. Otherwise, if we don't do it that way, then it will mean you work in silos, which will make our work very difficult here. Yeah, but it's okay if it has been done that way for now. Let me first allow Lop.
Maybe let me seek some clarification.
No, Elder, you're accessing a microphone without my permission. Let me first allow Lop then. Okay, you can, the clarification from him, from Attorney General?
From the Attorney General, and from the Chair too. The Land Attorney General says that a resolution could be affecting 2 or 3 ministries, and each is speaking on a particular part of that resolution. Wouldn't it be procedure right that if there are 3 ministries speaking to that particular point, they present all their responses together, then we can have a response? Because if there is some other ministry which is coming maybe 2 days later, related to the same point, and another one 2 other days later, doesn't make sense. We shall be moving back and forth. So we need to identify on the point that Attorney General has been raising, if there are other ministries on that, they should present, and then you can have one response. Wouldn't that be a neat way of doing it, Right Honourable?
Sure, I think it would be much better. And it's really closely related to what I said. If it had been joint, he would read it, then the other ministers would support in terms of responses. But for now, if they are ready, if the other ones are ready, they can also submit, and we conclude on this matter. Chief Whip, did you say something?
Right Honourable Speaker, as stated by the Attorney General, the only aspect in terms of his responses that has gone and has been integrated between internal affairs and defense is the issue of cattle rustling. And the responses from defense and internal affairs has been integrated. And defense will take the lead, supported by the Ministry of Internal Affairs. Absolutely.
Yeah, then they better present on this specific resolution. Okay? Because what Honorable Abudu is proposing is, if the resolution of that day has been shared by around 3 ministries in terms of response, let all of them present, and then we finish.
Thank you very much, Right Honourable Speaker. We'll have the Minister of Defence present, and then the Minister of Agriculture on what has been done on cattle rustling, then we can deal with it. Thank you.
Colleagues, don't mind, this is a running curve. It's the first time we are doing this. So we are going to come out better. Next time we shall be. But I hope, Honorable Abudu, you are identifying areas which we need to clean up in our rules. As the chair for the rules committee. These grey areas, we need to come out clearly.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker and honourable members. And your guidance is in sync with what we had prepared regarding the issue of insecurity in Karamoja. And it makes sense so that we don't scatter these related aspects to speak at once.
Yeah.
That said, my job in this respect was to make the preamble of the spectrum of measures that are included in our response, and then allow defense to give the detail, which I do so now, Right Honorable Speaker.
So that's the preamble. Thank you, General. Yes. Now, General Boss.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. On the resolution of Parliament urging government to immediately stop cattle rustling and restore peace, security, stability in the sub-regions of Teso, Lango, Acholi, Karamoja, Bugisu, and Sebei. I think I will request those who are uploading it to put for...
Check page from page 29.
Yes, under Minister of Defense.
Minister of Defense.
The resolution is cast out there that government, in accordance with Articles 26, 209, 212, and 222 of the Constitution of Uganda, urgently and adequately deploys security forces in Karamoja and districts bordering it from the sub-regions of Teso, Lango, Acholi, Bugisu, and Sebei with adequate logistical, material, and financial resources to stop cattle rustling that is illegally depriving people of their right to own property and subjecting people to torture, cruel, and inhumane treatment, and thereby restore peace and security. Actions taken. Right Honorable Speaker, the UPDF has made commensurately robust deployment by enhancing troop levels. These have been further boosted by local defense personnel from various training wings of the UPDF. With these enhancements, each district in Karamoja has a force for zonal security supported by intelligence. B, in the neighboring sub-regions, UPDF has enhanced troop levels in Kitgum, Agago, Abim, Otuge, Kabelabiong, Katakwi, Kumi, Bulambuli, Kwen, and Bukwo to prevent and curtail incursions by cattle rustlers in the respective districts. C, while recognizing that adequate security calls for the participation of the public as well as local leaders, we have integrated into our operations the anti-cattle rustling mobilization and sensitization. Important to note, His Excellency the President of the Republic of Uganda has traversed the sub-regions, leading the mindset change effort by encouraging the population to engage in other productive activities such as goat rearing. And resolution number 2, relatedly, that government, in accordance with Article 17 B to D of the Constitution, reinstates the LD, the local defense forces from the affected districts, as a permanent auxiliary force under the command and coordination of the UPDF with improved management and remuneration, trained, armed, and deployed within their villages, communities, to support and work with the UPDF and Uganda Police Force in deterring raids, protecting lives and property, plus tracking and recovering of stolen animals from the armed raiders. Action taken with regard to reinstatement of local defense forces between April and June 2022, UPDF deliberately trained and passed out 14,440 local defense forces who are deployed in Karamoja and the neighboring affected districts. Resolution number 3, that government takes steps to immediately remove all armed herdsmen moving within the sub-regions of Teso, Lango, Acholi, Bugisu, Sebei, and Karamoja, including the armed Turkana, Toposa, and the Pokot. Action taken with the relaunch of the Usalama kwa Wote operations in July 2021, 631 guns were recovered by May 2022 within the reporting period. Resolution 4, government with immediate effect and in accordance with Article 22
UBC, inspiring Uganda.
Introducing the all-new Roofing's TMX 500C rebars with cut and bend services. Roofing's, strength of a nation.
Over the years, we've dreamed to get onto the world stage. We've had that dream crushed. We've witnessed a total defeat of what could have been our greatest moment. We've felt our spirits go up, only to take a hard fall. We've had our fires burn out and leave only scars. We've seized the wind and had it pulled from our grasp. We've seen pain and we've seen loss of the last fragments of hope. But we are made of resilience, and resilience never stops dreaming. So we will dream even bigger with the Cranes Cup Bowl 2026. Together, let's take Uganda to the next FIFA World Cup.
Together, let's take Uganda to the next FIFA World Cup. For every Now Special you buy, we will give 50 shillings to the Uganda Cranes 2026 fund. You will also get the chance to choose how the Cranes Cup Bowl contributions are spent. Now Special, official beer of the FIFA World Cup and official beer partner of the Uganda Cranes.
Alcohol is not for sale to persons under 18. Please drink responsibly.
Paul, this is such a big investment.
Yes, but life is even a greater investment.
Our doctors recommend Hemofort to help in quick recovery.
Hemofort is a medical syrup that's recommended for people of all ages, pregnant women, and people from all lines of work. Hemofort syrup helps the body's growth of red blood cells. It contains iron, vitamins, folic acid, and other essential elements necessary to keep both children and adults healthy and active. Hemofort. Build a fort around your family today. Keep all medicines away from children. If symptoms persist, consult your doctor.
In chess, the small one can become the big one. It's the same here. And here too. Watch every move. Record every number so you can plan better. No matter the size of your dream, tomorrow's success belongs to those who keep today's records clean. File your returns today.
Uganda Revenue Authority, developing Uganda together. Get value for your money by choosing the right paint. With Global Paints, you don't just paint, but paint for generations to come. Make Global Paints a paint of choice and make your building a paradise. We have weather coat emulsion, undercoat emulsion, silk vinyl emulsion, flat emulsion, super gloss and high gloss. Global Paint, a reliable product.
Welcome to the Living Room Stadium. It's the FIFA World Cup. The match is about to start. Food and drink ready. There's no space left for anyone. Come on, get your lucky chair. Take your usual spot. Even the puppy has one. It's preparation time. You can feel the tension in the air. And do you have everything you need to believe?
The biggest sporting event of the year is here! It is the FIFA World Cup 2022 and the first of its kind in the big Arab Manila.
World Cup is in Qatar 2022. Doha.
Wow! It's gonna be super amazing, full of fun, and on top of that, it's gonna be full of prizes to be won. UBC and your TV are giving a chance to predict and win in every game. From the group stages, dial *210*9#. Make your predictions and win lots and lots of prizes. Win daily cash, swag hampers, win smartphones, win brand new borders and many more.
2022.
Everyone is a winner in this World Cup with UBC and your TV. Just dial *210*9#. Make your predictions and win. Terms and conditions apply.
Come to Doha, come to Tara, and Tawa Anna.
UBC, inspiring Uganda.
Welcome to Qatar is here, day 5 of match day 1. Aldrin Subuga Senior with Ruben Liombo to take you this one for the first part of this show. Remember, yesterday we had Group E and Group F games. Today we will be enjoying another set of games, but what a day yesterday as Beauty and the Beast met on the same day in Group B. Ruben, Spain, Germany, different results. Which is the one that caught the eye before we look at the other games?
It should be German versus Japan.
The defeat.
The defeat to Japan.
How did you see that one?
Japan covered every blade of grass, every space they covered. They were energetic. They were running all day through. You'd feel sorry for, you pity the aging Japanese, but they managed to go through the 90 minutes. Answer that. You'd think you have a player with 34, you have a player with 36 in your starting lineup, a goalkeeper with 33, and some other in between 25 and 26. You would think this aging Japan would tire out, but experience played to their part. Maybe to the other side, you would think that having 8 players who play in the Bundesliga in their squad also helped them. In the starting lineup, they had 5 players who play in German, and the 2 goal scorers also playing German.
Now, Germany, this is not the kind of result you thought before would happen at a World Cup. We know we've seen Germany beating Brazil 7 goals at the 2014 World Cup at a stage you wouldn't expect it. But Germany themselves losing to Japan is just a result that never happened before. Is this a different German side we are seeing? What was the problem?
Hansa Frisk is trying to assemble a new German, blended with young and old, but I think also got it wrong in his team selection. For starters, you had a Thomas Muller in there at 33, who's now past his best. He no longer scores goals for fans as he was doing. He's more of a creator, but he was nice space to create yesterday. You think the selection of Sura as a right back, instead of him playing as a central defender, did not help matters. If you're playing a team that plays behind the ball, you need all your full backs to add in attack, like the way Raum was doing on the left flank. Germany's right flank was not effective at all. And even the strategy of playing Kai Havertz as a false nine didn't work out well.
Something happened that also happened the other day when Argentina lost. Argentina went in the lead early enough. Germany did take the lead, I think, early enough as well. Two former world champions, traditional world champions and great teams going ahead against minnows, and the minnows recovering. Any trend there, any pattern for you?
Is it becoming a trick that if you're a big one and you take a lead, you're bound to lose, and most especially if it's from a penalty spot. But like I discussed yesterday, or we're discussing even off the set, we're talking about these other details that really matter. The tournament has come in the middle of the season, whereby everybody's fit, everybody's sharp. Just imagine if Japan were playing German at the end of the season, where the bulk of Japan's players are all 30 and above, having a full season in them and coming to play a World Cup game. But here they are all still fresh, they've used their energy well. But even the tactics paid, they were in Germans' faces all the time. They never gave them any breathing space.
Before we talk about Spain, let me ask you a question about Bayern Munich and their dominance in the German national side and the politics behind. I know in the past we couldn't really bring that up because Germany were winning, they were getting the results. But in today's Germany, do you think the Bayern politics is still playing a hand, especially in the way that team is selected, or we are past that stage?
It can never go because Bayern controls German football. And Bayern is the only team, sorry for those who support German, Bayern is the only team in the Bundesliga I will talk about. Dortmund will come and ask a few questions in and there, but it will always be Bayern Munich. They can lose the leadership of the table in December by winter break, and by the time they come back and make their champions. So they've dominated German football for so long. Even the team selection, you look at them as the dominant players in the German setup.
And you think that the export of players lately, where a lot of their players now are playing outside Germany, is it affecting positively or negatively? Because we all know about their school of football, where from lowest to the highest club in Germany, they have one template they use in terms of bring up players, training and nurturing them. Is it now starting to affect them negatively? Because these ones who play externally, they get exposed to different systems, different way of approaching football.
I wouldn't say so. I would look at it that German side that was built to dominate world football did dominate football and went to Brazil and won the trophy. The likes of Mesut Ozil. You remember that group that had our own Ugandan player, what was his name, who went